I want to ask you this, Brady, because I'm genuinely, I'm writing an article. It's sort of like a FAQ about Spygate 2 and what's going on with and why people should maybe be in uproar or maybe not be in uproar. My first question to you would be not what you think about all this, but is there anything to glean from using a video camera to record another team's coach on the sidelines during an entire quarter, half, whole game because most of the signals are going to be over radio transmission at this point in time, right?
Some, not most, especially for a defense. So, yeah, what you're alluding to is even though they have the green dot on their helmet, and typically the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator call the play into the quarterback, or on defense, it could be the mic. In some cases, it could be a safety. I believe Weddle actually wears it out for the Rams. So it varies depending on who that player is on defense. But either way, that's who's communicating everything else. But if you think about that communication, it's not usually the most efficient, and usually defenses don't actually literally huddle. So because they don't want to like leave their certain sides of the field or, potentially have to run in to run back out. They're wasting energy. So a lot of times they'll end up just signaling. Like he gets the call, he makes the call, and then he might signal out to the secondary or whatever the case may be. The other thing is a lot of times when offenses, they'll get to the line of scrimmage, maybe they want to look to audible. The defensive coordinator, if he has enough time, he obviously can't use that headset, right? Because it clicks out at 15 seconds, dead air. How do you audible then if you're a defense? Look to the sidelines, you get a signal. So a lot of that goes on. You could definitely still steal those signals for opposing defenses to be able to glean something from that. You can get personnel groups from that, and so that might give you a little bit of a head start based on whatever their signal is. So you don't have to waste a series or two figuring that out. Sometimes you can glean just what a coach's mannerisms are depending on what they're doing. If he's running a fake, if he's not running a fake on special teams. So there's a lot of things you can kind of get from that specific footage that could be valuable and useful for you. And that's why I do think this is something that the NFL has to take extremely serious. They need to look into, who is behind this, what happened with that footage, what they're planning on doing with it, because, we're calling this Spygate 2, but it's not Spygate 2. It's Spygate 2 maybe for the Patriots. Josh McDaniels was a part of Spygate 2 when he was a head coach with the Denver Broncos. That ended up really being the nail in the coffin during his time there. He had someone within the film crew was filming a walkthrough practice back when I was there with the Denver Broncos on that team. We were in London. They were filming the walkthrough. They got caught. They came back. We came back after we lost that game. And I want to say a week or so later, that was kind of the end of the story. So this has happened again with Josh McDaniels as the head coach of another team. And now, obviously, it's happening again with the New England Patriots for a second time there, but really third time, considering Josh McDaniels has been involved with this for a while. So it is something that they need to punish as harshly as possible if they do find more from this. Because I think initially, when you look at the statements the Patriots threw out there, you didn't think there was really much to it, that it was just some do-your-job documentary behind the scenes. But then as you start to read more of the reports that are coming out, the fact that it did film the sidelines for 8 minutes, that's significant. And it's something that they really have got to take seriously.
Brady, let me ask you this, because you mentioned Josh McDaniels and, of course, Bill Belichick have been part of these scenarios for going back to 2007. As a player, are you okay with that if you're on the Broncos or if you're on the Patriots and you can say, well, at least they're winning or it's not cheating? Is there a way that you can find your way to the gray area? Or do you have a problem with it as a competitor? Because if I'm on the other team, a coach, a player, front office, I'm pissed off because obviously this isn't a fair playing ground, and competitive balance isn't competitive or shouldn't be. It isn't balanced, I should say. So, from your perspective, being a part of the Broncos, or if you could get into the mind of a Patriots player, if you were there during Spygate, would you have an issue with it, or would you be like, hey, I got some Super Bowl rings to show you?
Yeah, I don't think players honestly look at it as even cheating or think that, right? We all try to justify things in our mind to make it feel like it's not cheating, even if it is. I mean, heck, I work with a couple guys, right, who maybe beat me in a college game one time based on an illegal play, and they have no problem with touting that win. So it is what it is, and I think most players feel that way. Like in the moment, as far as the competition, what happens on the field happens on the field, and all the external stuff that maybe helps you prepare to win that game is kind of thrown out the window. So most players, I can assure you, wouldn't have been that upset even if they felt like it was giving themselves an advantage. Everyone's looking for an advantage. I think what the New England Patriots do more than anyone else is, they take areas that aren't necessarily very black and white as far as how it's described maybe in the rule book, and they look at those gray areas and say, okay, what happens if we did this? and maybe this specific thing that we're doing isn't written in the rule book, or there's not an interpretation for it. So they do it to create an advantage if they feel like there is one there, until you make them not have to, and you create a rule so you make it black and white. New England's better at doing that than anyone else. So, look, I don't think it's far-fetched to think that you have Zach Taylor, who's their next opponent, who is a first-year head coach, first-time head coach. There's probably not a lot of tape on his signals and what they do and how they operate. So it's not that far-fetched to think that maybe they were trying to put this within their database of the different signals and things that he is going to use moving forward, considering that's, kind of something that's out there. I mean, look, signals that certain teams use, or even the verbiage that they use for audibles, the snap count, the plays, they've been around forever. Peyton used to be all over the Denver Broncos staff for making them change their verbiage week to week because he knew defenses were listening to the TV copy to pick up different words. I always think this, though. So all that being said, even that information that you have in split seconds of a time, it's kind of hard to apply it to be able to make it kind of work to your advantage. I do think as a quarterback, though, if you could have told me, and there's times when you look for it on your game film, sometimes you'll see before the play, a safety might turn and go like this, and he's signaling to his cornerback like they're checking from whatever their coverage was before, and they're going to Tampa 2. If I know right away it's going to be Tampa 2 every single time I drop back, or if I can pick up a signal where I know right now, and it happens all the time in training camp when you go ones-on-ones, I'm going to be able to throw that football with much more confidence because I know where your weaknesses are. I know where I need to throw and where I need to attack, and then it just comes down to execution of the actual pass itself.
All right. So where do we stand on all this? I'm just curious, like a sort of a round table here. Like, start with you, Ryan. Where do you lean? Do you think the Patriots are guilty? Do you think the Patriots are not guilty? And what Brady mentioned as harshly as possible, what punishment do you think they deserve, and what punishment do you think they'll get? Sort of a multi-part quick hitter there.
Well, Belichick has denied knowing anything. He's done it twice in the WEEI radio conversation on Monday, I guess, and then Tuesday he talked to Cincinnati reporters and said he didn't know much about it, and basically said we're on to Cincinnati. High five to him for that one. Look, man, I don't know what they've done, but in terms of this situation, I know what they've done in the past, and it's not a great look. They had 8 minutes of video, according to our buddy Paul Dehner at The Athletic, of just a camera pointing at the Bengals sidelines coaching staff. I don't know how you explain that away when you're doing a documentary on Advanced Scout. So that's curious. But here's the thing. We talked about this yesterday on the podcast. You just never know which way Roger Goodell is going to come down in terms of throwing the hammer. It could be a $500 fine, or it could be $1 million fine and they lose the 2020 draft class. So I don't know what's going to happen. This doesn't look great for the Patriots. I don't know if they're guilty, but given their history, it looks horrible. And I'll just have to wait and see what Goodell comes up with.
If you're asking me, I would say depending on what they end up finding out and how far this went, who knew what, which you do need to do that first. You do need to figure out if the coaching staff or the scouting department and any of the players had any knowledge of this and what was going on and what they were able to glean from it. If they did, I think you take away a first-round pick, you throw a very hefty fine. I don't know if it's $250,000 or $500,000, whatever it is. It needs to be that punitive that no team ever thinks of doing it again. If they find out there's evidence that it was linked to the coaching staff and providing a competitive advantage. If not, you still have to punish them in the sense that this doesn't happen again with some other organization or some other crew doing this that could, be using that confidential information, if you will, to provide to players or teams or coaches. So either way, I do think there needs to be some repercussion for this, just depending on what they end up finding out. Because I do think there's so much right now we don't know. We just know the history, and I think that's what makes us so concerned and what makes us want to investigate this more, because we have seen New England use this to their advantage in the past.
Yeah, I mean, like if this is the Chargers filming the Bengals, it's like, what a bunch of goobers. Look at these Chargers. You're like, let's move along. Don't worry about it.
It's always the Chargers, Will. Always the Chargers.
The Bills or the I don't know, pick anybody other than the Patriots. That's the point. And but conversely, if this is the Ravens, whose press box has been infiltrated by Patriots videographers, I don't want to call them spies, but by Patriots people with video cameras, this is a huge deal because the Patriots already lost, or was the Chiefs or the Texans. Someone the Patriots lost to, someone the Patriots will see in the playoffs. It's so easy to dismiss because it's like you think Bill Belichick is going to cheat to beat the 1-win Bengals, even though he really, really, really needs to win this game to keep home field advantage. You think he's really going to do that? Come on. I do think there's one theory out there that maybe hasn't been like thrown out, and so I will throw it out there. What if this third-party videographer like gets up there and he's like, you know what? I want to film this stuff and just send it back. And then Belichick's going to hire me full time because I'm out here filming like the Bengals coaches. Do you think it's possible this guy went rogue to trying to like make Bill Belichick happy? He's wearing a Bruins shirt, so he's a big Boston guy. He's probably a Patriots fan. It's entirely possible that he just set up shop and was like, I'm going to act like I'm getting B-roll and just give this back to the Patriots. And I'll be like heralded as like a hero to Bill Belichick. Is that possible?
Yeah, they're the same guys who unloaded half of the Kansas City Chiefs players' equipment and then didn't unload the other half and let the plane fly to Newark to get back into circulation, right? Like those are the same guys who are hoping to infiltrate the New England Patriots equipment staff. Yeah, I'm right there with you, Will. There's no doubt. There's a lot of validity to that one.
No, I'm serious, but like, would it surprise you if some stoolie who's like an airport worker in Boston is like, hey, look, Jimmy, it's the Chiefs luggage, and like chunks it back onto the plane? Like,
was it Dave Portnoy? Do we know if it was Dave? Was him or like Big Cat there? Maybe I don't know. Was it PFT?
I think PFT's a Washington guy anyway.
Well, one of those rascals was probably there doing something they shouldn't have been.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, I'm not ruling that out, but I do agree that if they find out the Patriots did something here, as Breach pointed out in the last podcast, if you're on probation and you need to go to Mexico for a wedding, you need to tell your probation officer, okay? And that's the Patriots are on probation. So apparently my London accent way better than my Boston accent. Yes.
No, they're both terrible. Let me ask you this quickly, you and or Brady. So if you're talking to Roger Goodell and or the NFL enforcement arm of this thing, what's your explanation when they say, so why are you pointing the camera at the sidelines for 8 straight minutes when you're interviewing an advanced scout?
I left the camera on and it was recording and I didn't mean to. I just happened to put it in that position and forgot. It was recording and then, like I said, I didn't mean to. Honestly, negligence.
That's now, and look, this has not been corroborated by facts or like testimony, but the report from Diana Rossini of ESPN was that a Bengals staffer spotted the guy in the with a Patriots.com credential wearing a Boston Bruins thing. And he's like and he sat back and watched to see what the guy was recording, and he's just honed in on the Bengals sideline for the first half, or like the first quarter. And then finally he went and told security, and then they got the guy and they're like, hey, look, he's like, how about if I just give you the tape and we just forget this ever happened? It's like that's the biggest red flag of all. What just eat it'd be worse. The only thing that'd be worse is if you like swallowed a cyanide pill and keeled over. I mean, like that's
I was just going to say, if it was meant for another purpose, you'd think you'd fight for whatever you were filming to keep that disc, but clearly it makes them look even more guilty. They're like, yeah, just go ahead and keep it. I don't know what it was. It's like if you go rob a bank and you have, $2 million in a briefcase, the cops are coming, you ditch the cash just hoping that you maintain your freedom, right? Like, here, take this, buddy.
Or it's like a mobster thing. It's like, listen, can you just kill me? Because Belichick can't find out that I got caught. Okay, like that's the last thing that can happen.
He'll rip my arms off and he'll beat me to death with them.
Just shoot me right here, man. All right. So that's anything else we want to add on Spygate 2? No, we're good. I'm sure we'll talk about this more and more frequently, but great insight, Brady, from a former quarterback, former NFL player who still likes cheese pizza.